All right. So it's just been a long day for me. I've had a lot of unpacking to do.
Oh,
So what I'm going to get into generally is just, I have a basic curiosity kind of about everything, and I like to talk with other people about it. And I've realized I've asked some questions that I guess people don't generally get asked for. So, and one of those questions would be, what drives you as a person? Like, why do you get up every day and keep trying?
well, I've had a lot of time to think about this over the last year because I lost my job, um, gained other jobs, and, just trying to figure out why do I get up in the morning. Um, I really, really love creating stuff. I create something every single day. I am never a sit around and veg kind of person. Um, I will make something every single day. So that is, in a basic way, what makes me keep going. Um, in a more social way, I like being appreciated for the things that I make. That keeps me going, knowing that I will get recognition, which, sounds very selfish when you say it like that, but also, why are we doing anything? It's to interact with people. So that's how I interact with people. Um, yeah, I figure if I keep making stuff, then I'm in some way a useful, moving part of the world. So,
That's
yeah.
definitely insightful. The fact spent time thinking about that and the pandemic gave you, I guess, kind of the push for it, because did you really ever ponder that thought prior to it?
I did, but I don't know, I was not able to come up with an answer that didn't in some way make me uncomfortable. And now I've
Okay.
become comfortable with that answer. Like, if I'm able to, obviously the hierarchy of needs and all that, if I am sheltered and have friends and have food and have whatever, what I really, really want is something to make. So that, in the wonderful privileged way that we have needs now, that's what keeps me going. And I don't know, I guess I just didn't have as much time to think about it before, but now I've really broken it down into truly and deeply, deep down inside, not for anyone else, what do I like to do? And it's make stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel the reason I asked was because I feel like a lot I was thinking about in the kind of a couple months after the lockdowns happened here in the United States and everything. Um, I was doing pretty good mentally for myself. It had given me a lot of time, but that's because I had started that a couple years before, and the felt I lacked was time to do it. And then I realized a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people were posting all these new things, hey, check out this, or hey, check out that, or hey, I'm trying this, I'm trying that. It wasn't people shoving things down my throat to buy anymore. It was people just talking about, like, I'm trying to do this cool 30-day challenge, or I'm trying to do this new recipe, or I'm going to go explore, or I'm going to go do this. People were doing things that had more of
Yeah.
a genuine passion behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
we all found ourselves with some time and decided to learn how to make bread.
yeah, back to the our roots. But
Yeah.
I think it's really good to note that, you were saying things that made you, like, your answer made you uncomfortable before, but now you're not uncomfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I get from that is more of the answer you give now is you, and you know that it's you,
Mm-hmm.
is what that sounds like.
Yeah, it is. I think everyone has multiple people in their lives that they've kept inside of their own heads. Even if the person is not right there in front of you, you've kept the person inside of your own head, and that is the voice that motivates you to do stuff. And if you they'll always be there, and that's not a problem per se, but if you can kind of work through that to find what you want to do, as well as your internalized need to impress these other people that have had an influence on you, sort of balancing those two things, uh, while still doing whatever you want, because, like, do whatever you want, right? You're not hurting anybody.
Yeah, I mean, as definitely, that's a very true saying. Do whatever you want, do what makes
Yeah.
you happy, type deal, and everything. And it is important to note, as long as you're not hurting anybody, stopping anyone else from moving forward, then
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're doing should be noted as an okay thing to do. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, also as long as you're not, I guess, hurting yourself too, because the opposite of what all of that is to do for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Keep
Um,
moving forward for yourself.
yeah, and I think it's really important that some to note that some people need to look at who they are on the inside as like a outside type person. Like if you give your friends really good advice, but your life you're miserable all the time, maybe you should talk to
Mm-hmm.
yourself as if you were one of your friends going through that situation. What would you say to them?
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to have. You can be the internalized voice for yourself. Like, helping other people, the social aspect of, healing and community and friendship and all of those things, absolutely wonderful. Everyone that you're friends with becomes a voice inside your head. You become a voice in all your friends' heads because they think about you, they think about conversations they've had with you, they think about, oh, what would so and so say in this situation? And it's really cool to realize that you can be the voice inside your own head. like like you said, giving yourself advice. You don't have to. I think we take a lot of advice from people that we hold in high esteem. Like, oh, well, they've done this wonderful thing, they've done so many cool things, they go to the gym all the time, they've got an awesome job, they have a really great relationship, whatever. And we esteem them so highly, we listen to them for all of those things because we want to see ourselves a little bit in their position. But it is very neat to realize, no, you can also esteem yourself highly and listen to your own advice as though you were a different person, and have that little conversation with yourself.
Definitely. I spent spent some time recently thinking about how it's really easy to look at the end result and be upset you're not there, but completely
Mm-hmm.
ignore the amount of effort and how long that journey would have taken for you to get there had you done it.
Yeah.
Like it's really easy for us to look at other people and not see the day-to-day life because of mainly social media. You get picture updates or text updates about what people are doing, but sometimes people who are putting in that effort aren't posting that they're doing that specific thing. They're just posting the other parts of their life because this is them. That they're working on that. They don't want to show other people they're working on it. They just
Yeah.
want to get there. And then when they feel proud about it, that's when we show it. That's when we tell everyone, "Oh my god, this great thing happened," or "I did this 30-day yoga challenge and now I feel great and I can remember it and do it all the time," or "I did this 1 year." So I think that we tend to just kind of
Oh yeah.
lose track of the fact that even though we want to do things, and we see how much effort it might take, and we get in that whole I don't want to do it, or it's not fair that I have to do it and that other person doesn't. You forget that that other person probably did, or lives a different life than you, that
Yeah.
doesn't need to do the things that you need to do to get there.
Yeah.
We're all built different.
There's we're all built different, and there's different kinds of privilege, and there's different kinds of social performance. Um, and I'm not saying privilege is a bad thing or anything to be ashamed of, ever. It isn't. It's just something to be aware of for yourself and for other people. Um, Maybe somebody, you know, some of my joints don't line up very well. Um, and it causes me a fair amount of discomfort. So my fitness journey is stalled sometimes. And my friends that don't have those problems, man, they can go and they can do all sorts of things. They can do the splits in the middle of the air and fly all up into the ceiling. It's crazy. I can't right now. And that's perfectly fine. I'm working on something else. Um, and when they go to post their beautiful picture of doing the midair splits and really showing off on, circus apparatus and all that, that's fantastic. I'll have something to show off too. I've been working on a great big, fully silk costume, um, and I'm going to show it off. And I'm sure that my friend that doesn't have joint problems will go, "Oh man, that's so cool. I wish I could do that." All right, well, I wish I could do the splits. It's, I'm happy for her. I'm happy for me. And if a third person looks at both of those things and goes, "Wow, I need to be able to sew a huge silk costume and do the splits," you're on your own journey. Just so long as you're moving forward, you are doing something awesome. Maybe you're gonna get really good at bread. That's great. Turns out I'm not good at making bread, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone's
So
got their own thing, and it's lovely to keep doing it. Like, be happy for other people, be inspired by other people, but never, don't foster the jealousy. Don't
yeah,
foster thinking, "Oh, I'm not good enough to do that. Oh, they're so much more talented than I am." No, they're more skilled than you because
well,
they've worked at it and they've been able to.
yeah,
There's all sorts of things that go into it, and I ideally, no one should ever feel badly for somebody else's achievements because you've got your own, even if they're little. It's great. Whatever you're doing is great.
yeah. I mean, so let me ask you this then:
Mhm.
what is something that you think that you're really good at that may just come kind of natural to you?
I think I have, well, I'll back that up. I know I have the ability to picture
It could be
things.
anything.
Oh, yeah. I know I have the ability to picture things 3D and then flatten them. So, what I mean by that is I'm very good, you know, from the start basically at making patterns for costumes and clothing and all of that. It makes sense to me immediately. I've taught other people how to do it, and some people that I work with, no matter how many different ways I rephrase it and show them and, put their hands on it and tell them, it's just not connecting in their head. Um, doesn't mean they're stupid, doesn't mean they're bad at it. It's just not something that's going to be comfortable for them. And then other people, I show them and they go, "Oh yeah, yeah, all right, that's cool," and then they go do it. It's I think that there are some certain innate things like that of how people think, like the pathways that their brain uses to get from point A to point B. Um, how you visualize things. Do you hear them? Do you see it as words? Do you see it as colors? Whatever. Everyone's brain works a little bit differently, and I think that has a lot to do with certain skill sets that come more easily to certain people than to others. And man, I think that's cool as heck. So I'm just fascinated by people that are particularly aware of what they're good at because I'm always fascinated to hear how their brain thinks it through. Hopefully that answered the question, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. It's I mean, there's no right or wrong answer for any of this. All of this is completely opinionated.
Excellent.
None of this is me being like, no, I'm right and you're wrong. This is all just me talking about, questions I have, that this is how I think and how I learn, and this is what I like to learn about, and how you answer is just how you decide to answer. All of it's you.
I love
Um,
that. That's delightful.
but it is important to know. Thank you. The reason I asked was because when we're talking about people trying to do things and trying to be really good at it, and then they see other people and they get hindered by it because they're just maybe embarrassed or ashamed, they're not as far as good as that person, or they're mad at themselves, something. But it is also important to not forget in those moments that certain things come super easy to you that do
Mm-hmm.
not come easy to other people. You know, we are
Yeah.
all built different, we all do different things. And the stuff that we all see in the world, our reality, is just the stuff we share with each other. So, I mean, how do you,
Yeah.
because I can't bring anyone else into my head. That whole world, that whole universe, whatever it is, that exists only inside me. Everything I do outside is me sharing it with everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's okay if someone who shared something with me, I'm not good at it when I try,
Mm-hmm.
because it didn't come from me.
Yeah. Man, I love that way of looking at it. Yeah. And you don't see it how they see it either. They might they might see it as like, ah, well, that's not my best backflip. I can do this other one that's like way more complicated. But it doesn't look as cool to you. What what you perceive is all that you have to work with. And what they put out in the world, you know, is a little gift to you to perceive. But how you receive it or don't receive it is entirely you. So, yeah, and as far as like being ashamed that someone's not as good as something as somebody else is, I yeah, I mean everyone's struggled with that. Everyone has. I am a lot better at,
Absolutely.
sitting down and working with my hands than I am at, sports and fitness and things like that. Um, but man, I keep trying. I keep trying. I'll take a Zumba class and I'm dancing like a baby because I can't keep up with the rhythm, but you know what? I'm moving, and that's fine. I think you need to, the shame will be there. You will feel like, man, I look freaking stupid. Oh my goodness. Just feel it and live it and push through it. If you are not gonna hurt yourself and you're not gonna hurt somebody else by dancing badly in a Zumba class, hey man, you're moving. That's cool. You need an extra water break when nobody else did? That's cool. Whatever. You are moving. Your experience is only your own. The teacher isn't gonna judge you for having to step off to the side for a minute and take a breather. You are having your own time. And that is truly the same with so many things. You're just having your own time. However much effort and time and fun and energy you have to put into it, which is different for everyone, that's what you're putting into it. And something will come out of it at different speeds, at different, types of feedback, different feelings, different everything. You are creating something. And that is the most important thing to me, to keep moving and creating something. So, even something that makes you feel like you're just a big loser trying to do it, that's okay. Is it fun? Well, that's cool. Keep going. You try it a couple of times, not fun? That's cool. Don't bother. You don't have to do Zumba. Who cares?
Yeah, there's a lot of options in the world, you know?
Yeah.
Or you could create your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Create your own workout routine.
Yeah. You like just doing push ups in your house and like lifting rocks in your backyard? Awesome. That's fantastic. What a great exercise. You just want to take a quiet walk in the park? That's cool. If that's one of your goals, to like move your body around and do all that, do it, man. Anything's better than nothing. There's no perfect way to do anything. There's just things that give you as close to the result as you want.
Do agree with that. Definitely do. It reminded me of I actually did a 30-day yoga routine challenge,
Nice.
and when I was doing it, the important thing that I got from it, pretty much from the instructor the entire time on the YouTube video, was don't worry about whether or not you look like her. Don't worry whether or not your joints or your limbs line up exactly like that, or if you can get into that position at all. She would be like, do a modified version of what you feel is comfortable that's close to doing that.
Hmm.
And eventually, because that helped me, because the first couple videos I was real down on myself. I was like, man, I can't do none of that.
Yeah.
And and then about day 15, I was closer and closer to lining up with it, and then by the end of it I decided to do it again, and definitely halfway through I could do all of the poses she was doing exactly how she did it. So it
That is
just came
awesome.
from sticking with it and realizing that it doesn't have to be exactly like that, because you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You can't start at the end. It's not how that
No, you
works.
you can't. And there's people out there that they did gymnastics when they were 6 and they haven't touched it since then, but dang, they can still get their toes to their head. Like crazy. Absolutely fantastic. And good for them. The the fantastic thing about yoga, I was thinking about this as you were talking. Nobody looks the same. Like, sure, there's correct
Yep.
alignments. Like, oh, well, your hips should both be facing the floor, which will engage this muscle, and then make
Hmm.
sure that your foot is flexed and whatever else. Sure, there's all of that. Maybe one of your arms is shorter than the other. What are you supposed to do? Train that? No. You just do your best. Everyone's body is a little bit different. And it's so interesting to see how many different ways even something physical like that, can be expressed. Like, if you have two people that are physically very similar, have had the same training, everything else, sure, they'll look like twins up there. It'll look like the Russian ballet, absolutely perfection. Everyone looks the same. Great, that's cool. Not everyone does, which is why it's so exclusive to be in the Russian ballet. You're going to look different. And if you're still moving and still getting out of it what you want to get out of it, awesome. That's so good. And yeah, like you said, eventually, you totally will be able to do pigeon. It feels pretty good when you can do it.
It does.
Yeah.
Especially after a long day of being on your legs or snowboarding.
Yeah, oh
Um,
man. Oh, snowboarding for sure.
yeah. I think it's definitely. I mean, talking about this, I'm realizing, and I've thought about it a couple times before, that this is all. It's not like a new wave type of thinking, per se,
Hmm.
but it is definitely within like the past 100 years been more spoken about, at least. That and well, especially in the past 30 years, actually, of the whole, I'm not gonna look like you. I can't do it that way.
Hmm.
We're all different. We're all different. Like the acknowledgement that even though we are all one human species, each individual is a different person. You're getting a whole different story.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, it really.
seven
Sorry.
billion people, I think, but it's like if you
Mhm.
were to acknowledge it in that way, we'll just say 7 billion people. That's 7 billion different books to read.
Mhm.
you're you can't. I mean, we can be competitive, we can go against each other, and I think that's kind of where we've been as a society in the past 30 years. Really, is that battle mentally of like, well, why can't we just stay the same? Why can't we just do this? Why can't we, why do we have to change? Why do we have to do that? Because you got to push and you got to acknowledge that like that old way of thinking isn't working because we're so much more connected now than we ever were before. We know so much about each other now that it's so much easier
Yeah.
for me to say I'm different than you than we did 50 years ago.
Yeah. And we're both good. We don't have to be the same. We don't have to use the same soap. We don't have to do our hair the same. Everyone, we have, as a society, the time, the inclination. Hundreds of philosophers have sat around debating it, and we've all come out with it's all right to just be a little different from somebody else. We should all try to better ourselves to however we want to be by our own standards and by society standards. But that betterment isn't going to be the same for everyone. And if it were, we wouldn't have the Olympics. We wouldn't have chess competitions. We wouldn't have any of this stuff.
I mean, yeah, we
Everyone's
wouldn't
just
have
doing their best.
winners of
Yeah.
competitions. We wouldn't have had great heroes, that are in legends and myths and everything. We wouldn't have had like that one person who stands up and is the chosen one. Like,
Yeah.
technically, we're all the chosen one in that case because we all live a different life. And I mean, maybe the chosen one doesn't want to get out of bed, doesn't want to go and be the chosen. Maybe the chosen one loves the fact that they're the chosen one. Maybe the chosen one hates it. There's so many different things just based on what they feel and what they want.
Hmm.
I don't know that I would want to be the chosen one. That's a lot of pressure.
It is. I don't even know what I would be chosen for.
Yeah, I mean, see,
Fred
that's
Grey?
not
I don't
even
know.
where my brain went. My brain was just like, wow, that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And like, but for real though, what would I even be chosen for? I have no idea. Um,
To live. We were all chosen to just
to live,
live.
yeah, to
That's it.
live and make bread and water the plants and do what you feel like and stop when it stops being fun, unless you have to do it for some greater reason. That that reminds me of have you seen the Disney movie The Incredibles? I guess Pixar.
Yes.
I love that movie because the moral of the story is sometimes people are better at the thing that you want to be good at, and that's okay. It isn't, the moral of the story isn't like, wow, believe in yourself and you can be whatever you want to be. I mean, believe in yourself and you can be better than you are now, but you can't be whatever you want to be. If somebody else is exactly what you want to be, you can never be them. You'll be your own version of it, and that's okay. I love that moral because it's very unexpected, I feel, but very fun.
I mean, if you believe in yourself, you can be. I guess now that we're at the day and age where people think in literal terms and more people are educated, yes, you cannot just simply walk up to
Mm-hmm.
someone in the English language and say you can be whatever you want when you grow up, because that comes with anything. And the word anything implies you could be a pillow, you could
Yeah.
be a wall, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah. No,
But
you can't be the king of Prussia because it no longer exists.
yeah.
That's okay.
Well, you could make a new Prussia, I guess. I don't know.
You could move to king of Prussia in Pennsylvania.
So, pretty much just, do you have any questions for me? Any question maybe you you may be curious to ever ask another human being, but might not be so sure on whether or not it would be okay to ask that.
I think, well, just to kind of bounce one back that you asked me, um, I my answer to like what makes you move, what makes you get out of bed in the morning, what's your favorite thing to do while you live your life? What's yours?
Mine is curiosity. Um,
Nice.
Curiosity for me kind of feeds into the basis of who I am. It's why I bother pretty much doing anything is, I'm curious of how it's going to go, or I'm curious to see if I'm going to be correct about my assumption about it, or I'm curious to see if it's going to surprise me, or if I'm just curious to see necessarily where the rest of my life is going to go and what I'm going to accomplish. And
That's
I mean,
cool.
for me, for a long time, thank you. I felt like when I first found that out, I thought this is just how everyone is. We just don't know it. And then I started
Mm,
asking people that question. And I realized that every single person I've talked to, their answer is different.
nice.
Yeah. It's a pretty
That's
cool
great.
thing, I think. And I mean, I love learning about people. So what better way than to find out what makes them tick and let them tell me? I'm not trying to sit here and assume. I'm not trying to judge you based on what you sound like or what you look like or anything. Everything that I find out from you is entirely your words.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think that's how
rad.
we should
I
talk
like
to
that.
each other.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this kind of thing. Like, yeah, man, ask me a weird question. I don't know. I'm going to assume you want the answer. Um, it's fun. Like, talking about the weather and the dress you're wearing over dinner is also very nice, but like, yeah, why do you get up in the morning? Yeah, all right, cool. Let's talk about that. That's rad.
I mean, yeah, and sometimes it's a bit tough for people, and sometimes I've had a couple of people where I'd be like at a bar and I would be drinking and I'd be outside smoking a cigarette, and someone comes out and they ask me for a cigarette, and I'd be like, all right, but now I'm gonna talk to you, right? Because now you're gonna stand next to me and you're gonna smoke this, and I'm not gonna stand here awkwardly while I finish mine and you light it and just go do whatever you do. Like, no, now I'm gonna talk to you. If I gave you something, you're gonna give me something back for that as a complete stranger, you know? And I feel the conversation is worth it most of the time. And
That's great.
I've gotten ones where like you hear it and you're just like, oh crap, I'm sorry, you know? And then they're just like, I did not know any of that. I'm sorry. They apologize. And I'm like, whoa. So it's you'll be okay. It's gonna be all right. We all forget that as different as we are and as important as everyone keeps throwing it out there on how different we are throughout society and how unique each person is and everything, it's still important to note that we are still on the same planet. We are still
Mhm.
sharing the same resources. We are still inhabiting kind of the same area. We each have our own little individual cave, sure, but that's where we go to be ourselves. When you go outside in the world, you just gotta accept that humans are everywhere, and why not try to interact with them? Why not try to have fun with it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you'll learn
That's
something
absolutely it. Talking
from
to
something.
strangers is one of my favorite games.
Oh, sorry, you cut out. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I said, talking with strangers is one of my favorite games to play.
Oh, well, I mean,
Just learning things about people is really fun.
yeah,
And I don't mean games as in like lying to them or
yeah,
misleading
yeah,
them or something. I just mean like, yeah, a cigarette for a conversation. It's great.
yeah. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea of like, yeah, kids go out there and start talking to strangers, asking
Oh
them
yeah, no,
questions. But
no, in reasonable and safe
yeah,
social
yeah.
situations.
See, that's one of the key problems I think with miscommunication is some people
That
out
is
there will
fair.
take it and they'll think that, or they'll do it just because you didn't say not to.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. None
Those
of this
people
is advice.
exist.
It's simply my own personal experience and the way that I view the world. So make good choices,
Yeah,
everybody.
make good choices. What is good choices?
Make good choices.
What does that mean though?
Oh,
Good to me might be bad to you.
absolutely. I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday because I don't believe in objective good.
Mhm.
I believe in what is good for me and good for society and good for my social interactions with other people and what will keep me safe and happy and, you know, all that stuff. But I don't believe in objective good, um, because to a medieval Buddhist monk, goodness is not going outside during the summer for fear that you might step on a bug and kill it. But for a medieval crusader knight, goodness is going to a land that isn't yours and hurting a lot of people in the name of what you believe in. And both of these people are acting out of goodness. They are being good, but
For
it
what they
is
believe.
incredibly different outcomes. Yep. And so, just do unto others and try and keep yourself safe and keep others safe and, you know, navigate social stuff. It's what you've been taught to do your entire life. And you learn more every single day. Goodness is what you believe and what your current society believes. A little
I
bit
feel
subjective,
like,
but certainly not without
yeah.
consequences.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Someone
Yeah,
might think it's good to kill someone, but you're gonna have to deal with the consequence of going to prison. You know.
yeah, yeah, like
But
generally agreed, don't do that.
yeah, I think it's so like my theory on it is just that we all have this innate moral compass inside of us. You know, as you go through the motions of being a baby and then a child and a teenager and an
Mhm.
adult, you learn on your own, even though other people are around you. And I say like society and TV and friends and family, they kind of shape and mold it, but they don't do it as much as you do it yourself. You're the one that decides whether or not this is good or bad. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, it is more intricate. Like, is this good because it made my mom stop being mad at me when I got in trouble? Like the reason behind it, you need to figure out whether or not that's a good reason to have, whether or not that reason makes sense and is logical. But I think society kind of sets the bar, the foundation of that as a collective group. And then everything that's higher than that is all you. You decide it.
Hmm. Yeah, and people, as we've said the whole time, only can have their own perception of something. So, not to make this take a dark turn, but kids that are raised in abusive situations, they learn what is good for them, which is, all right, mom's yelling at me again, and if I don't shut my mouth right now and stand very still, I'm gonna get hit. So when in the future, even though their mom's not there, they're not gonna get hit, no one's gonna hit them. That's what they do when something goes wrong, because that's what they've learned is most beneficial for them, to hold very still and look at their shoes and not say anything in a bad situation. And, nobody told them to do that. It's simply weighing the consequences of what happens, and you learn the consequences of what your choices are every single day, and you stick with certain things that work and you abandon certain things that don't. And sometimes they're not the healthiest, the easiest, the best way to deal with something for good communication, for good, nuance. But we're all making our own decisions, and we all have our own internal morality that's shaped by every single bit of input that we've had in our lives. Absolutely, like you were saying.
To speak on the beginning part of your reply, um, it just made me think in that whole, like, no one really ever tells you. There's not really ever a time when it happens that you're not in that situation anymore and you don't need to be that way. then it's okay to do something else, that no one's going
Mm-hmm.
to react that way. Like there were a lot of things that I had done unknowingly, and then started dissecting myself and, how other people are reacting to me. And then me asking why they react that way, because maybe I was confused because I didn't think that what I did prompted that. And we would sit down and talk about it, and I would understand that maybe how I'm acting is because that's how everything was before, because that's how I feel, that it's just going the same way, even though it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my perception of it is warped because of what I've been through, and that other person is just maybe genuinely trying to understand as well. And that's how they do it because that's what they were raised around to do that way. So I
Yeah.
think the important thing is to communicate, definitely, with each other. When we're older, we're adults, we're forming relationships. We can all talk and think for ourselves now. I think it's important to talk to each
Mm-hmm.
other every now and then and understand, like, this is a safe place, and these are your friends, and it's okay, and we can talk openly and can help each other out with the things that maybe we feel are a bit too much, or make us have mental breakdowns or anything. Try to just understand that.
Yeah. And I mean, really, the first step with that is having a word with just yourself
Yeah.
to notice that you do these things. Because if you're, I think a lot of people are lucky enough to have someone in their life that'll point it out, but some people aren't. Like, if you're dating somebody and every single time you have a slight disagreement, they could totally shut down. Okay, honey, why are you doing that? I'm so sorry I hurt your feelings. What's going on? Tell me what you're feeling. Why is this happening? And it's it's great when people do have that, when they can figure out with the help of another person why they are doing something, what they are doing. But really, as we've said the whole time, you're responsible for your own perception of things, and you're responsible for your own actions that you put out into the world. So notice in yourself what you're doing. Is this how you respond when you're scared? Is this how you respond when you're angry? Do you feel like you can't say something when you're angry? Think about it. And even if you don't understand the whole picture by yourself, that's okay. Just start thinking about it, and then you can talk it out with somebody else now that you know that's what you do. And I think that's the way to remake the miniature society that lives around you. Like, something that might be acceptable in a huge crowd is, you don't have to do that with your friends. They're just your close friends, or it's just your partner, it's just you and your kids, or whatever. You you create your own little series of societies with their own rules, and you can communicate with people in any number of societies, any size of society. You can communicate with people as to how you'd like to be treated. And it's cool to think that you have that much power, because you do, even in a huge crowd. If people are bumping into you, say, "Whoa, excuse me, don't touch me." And the person will go, "Oh gosh, I'm so sorry." Or they'll just go away. And close up,
Me
with your
that.
partner, hey, when you leave, the dishes in the sink, it really makes me upset because you said you'd do them, and I'm so sorry that I perceive it this way, but it's how I view things and it stresses me out. Can we work on it? You have control over your own environment. And through communication and through self-awareness, through knowing what you're feeling, all of it, it's absolutely wonderful. You can shape your own world, especially once you're over 18 and your parents are not officially in charge of you. Though hopefully
Yeah.
they would also be receptive.
I mean, it's definitely important to understand that power that we all do have once we hit that point of kind of being free and on our own, especially if you ever
Yeah.
go anywhere where no one knows who you are. I think one of the most
Yeah.
freeing things for me was when I started traveling, and I had this thought one day, because I was like, why am I still doing the same thing I was doing back home? Like, it's not even that fun. I'm not enjoying this. I didn't come here to do that. And I was like, no one really knows me or anything. I can go talk to anyone about anything. I have no idea what anyone's going to say. I don't know what they watch over here. I don't know who they talk to or anything that goes on. I can be and do anything I want to do within reason. So I would go out to like a bar and I would be really sociable and talk to everyone and just kind of pretend to be this really social, fun person. And then I would go home and be like, man, that was exhausting. I don't ever want to do that again. So I just experimented with myself and put myself in situations to see if, like, do I like doing this? Do I like this amount of attention? Do I like being in this situation? Do I like being in that situation? Do I like this food? Do I like this food cooked that way, or do I like it cooked differently? Like, it's just figuring out who I was. I
Yeah,
I think
seeing what makes you happy, what you're
everyone,
vibing with.
yeah, and I think everyone needs to do that at one point in their life in order to really feel, even like to feel better about yourself. You got to understand yourself. You got to know where you're coming from. We need more therapy, definitely
For
available to
sure.
everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Because I mean, I had
It,
that thought at 27, and someone else that I've met had that thought at like 17.
mhm.
If we could just like pick a specific age where we're like, all right, this is the point where everyone should start kind of working on themselves and being their own person and seeing what they're like afterwards, and then go into the world and do whatever you want to bring to the world. Treat
Yeah.
it like school, kind of. I think that, like, because I feel like that's how school's supposed to be. When you finish school, you're supposed to have that feeling of, all right, here I am, world. I'm gonna go create stuff. I'm gonna go do things. I'm gonna, contribute to society, or I'm gonna make society.
Mhm.
But that never happens. You're not really ever like, there's not really ever a point that's like, all right, here you go, boy or girl or whoever,
Yeah.
whatever you want to be. Enjoy it.
I think it happens for I mean, it can happen for everyone at a completely different time. Like I think I mean, I would say it probably has to happen after I don't know, maybe after the age of 10 or 12. Like you kind of have to be not a little kid anymore cuz that's a whole other thing I feel. But like as an adult or nearly an adult, you everyone has the opportunity to change how they're perceived. And for everyone, it happens at a different time. Like, there are people, they learn about it after their first big breakup. I think that's a big one. Like, you've dated this person for years and years, and they were your whole world, whether it was a good world or a bad world, it was your world. And now you've broken it off and you're alone. What do you do? Do you want to spend time with yourself? Do you want to go out and sleep with a bunch of people and see if you're as attractive as you hope you are? Do you want to, go to bars and talk to everybody and flirt and see how you feel about it? Um, Whatever you want to do, I think it happens at that point for a lot of people because their world has shifted. And for some people, uh, you know, like me, I think it happened at about 20, about 20. I realized, nope, I'm responsible for my world. That is that is the thing. This other person is not responsible for it. They have no power over me. It's all me. Perfectly fine. And for other people, they got married when they were 18 and now they're 55 years old and just got divorced. Oh man, that's a whole other way of perceiving your world. You were in this little world for so long and now you're out of it. And you can choose how people see you. Well, you can choose how you present yourself. You can sort of choose how people see you. And it's so interesting how it happens differently at different times. Like a 17-year-old doing this, totally different from a 27-year-old, totally different from a 55-year-old. But everyone has this opportunity, and I don't know that you can really pick when it happens. I think the world has to present you with the opportunity. Um,
Well, I mean, some people go their entire lives and never question any of
yeah,
that.
yeah, they do.
Some
Yeah,
people
they
go
don't.
their entire lives
They don't
making
ever want to.
everyone around them miserable
Yeah.
and never knowing that they did that.
Yep. Never accepting it, never looking within themselves to even be aware that that might be a thing,
And
and
I
to
just
unlearn
think
whatever made them do that.
I think that we could help humanity so much more if, because I'm not saying that everyone has to have that, revelation at that certain age, because I am aware that certain life
Mm-hmm.
experiences bring certain questions to you at different points in your life, to everyone. Some people
Yeah.
never experience it, some people get one, some people get 20, it's unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
But if we implemented that in some way into like society as a whole, of like, maybe it be at the end of high school or during college, or maybe it's like a summer in between college or something, I don't know. But if we implemented some type of like morals and ethics, like teaching to the population, to society, then on
Mm-hmm.
top of, maybe some psychology to kind of help understand what it is that helps us, what it is that kind of makes us up when we think, because it's all still not entirely 100% true. A lot of it's still people just guessing, but we could get a better understanding, could progress better mentally, because we're already pretty good physically for the most part, and a lot of our inhibitions
Mm-hmm.
for people in general is just like previous generations not making good choices when it came to doing things like dropping a nuke, or even creating it. Like the
Yeah.
fact that that's where our brains were going was towards build, 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 build for us, for us, for us. Take over, war, all of that. Like we weren't really trying to enjoy at any moment what we were doing, and now we're at that point where we're forced to kind of all sit around and enjoy it, and we don't like it. We hate it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but then we started working on it internally in each individual, or didn't, but we realized we don't have enough resources. We just need to give more people the opportunity to have that question brought to them, I think, in a sense of what makes you you. Who are you without anyone else? If you removed everyone else from the world, who would you be?
Yeah. That one's that one is a crazy hard question, and I I only know who I am within the worlds that I inhabit. I know who I am from my perception of me by myself. I know who I am in my marriage. I know who I am, in my work. I know who I am with my family, my local society, the ladies at the grocery store I wave to when I go, all the different levels of my world. I know what I am, and that's okay. Some of them matter, some of them don't. It's, I don't know, I guess I don't have the best concept of myself without anyone else to interact with. Because what is important to me is, to a fair extent, the interaction. I like making things. And I want people to look at those things and go, wow, that's cool. Or, gosh, thank you, I feel so good about this. And, I used to feel sort of ashamed thinking that, because, like, no, I should just make art for art's sake. What? No. And I hope I don't offend anybody by that. If that's what you're doing, then that's great, because it brings you joy. But man, no, I want people to look at it. I want people to pay me for it. I want people to be excited about it like I am. Um, or be excited about it because I made it for them. So I can only get myself down to who I am within a society, which might be what you mean, but is
Not
maybe just
entirely.
my somewhat extroverted viewpoint on it. But it's
That's
impossible to know
okay.
because I can only
Yeah.
perceive myself.
I mean, it's yeah, it's all for you. Um,
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't like directly asking you that. It was just part of the thought. But since we talked about it, I had this
Sorry, I just
moment.
grabbed hold of it and went.
Yeah, that's okay. It stuck out to you. I had this moment where I sat down and thought about myself. Um, do I like what I like because I like it, or do I like what I like because it got me friends and it's what my friends like? Do I do what I do because I enjoy it and it's what I want, or do I do it because society told me I need to do it, or because other people told me I needed to do it, that like I held to a high regard? So when I started dissecting that, I started kind of realizing a lot of what I built up who I was based on who
Mhm.
was around, who I felt was important in my life, and who I felt I needed to impress. And I went a little bit too far for it. I would call myself a people pleaser to an extent. But
Mm.
once I probably didn't go about it the right way, and I definitely would recommend going to therapy if you were to ever do this, because it was not that fun for a
Therapy's great.
while. I became very boring.
Mm.
I really did not like like I was excited to get rid of all these things I didn't care about, because I was like, oh man, whew, that's a weight lifted off my shoulders. I know I never liked this. I know I never cared about this. Like, I'm mad I have the information for it. I'm mad I own stuff related to it, so it's gone. And I don't talk to those people, so it doesn't matter. And then I started sitting down and going through everything and on the internet that I could find that would be like,
Yeah.
I guess, kind of labeled entertainment, or um, just kind of anything that would be like a hobby or an interest. And like nothing interested me for a while. And then I just picked up coloring because it was a task, and then realized I enjoy coloring. So
That's
that
awesome.
was as far as I had gotten in about a year. So now I was just this person walking around trying to figure my life out, and I color. I didn't do anything else. So I had to sit down and think about, like, what were some things I wanted to do as a kid that I couldn't do because I either couldn't afford it, or because I didn't have money, I didn't have a job,
Mm.
or like my mom said no.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I was like, all right, I want to gauge my ears. So I gauged my ears. I got more tattoos. I started working out more. I started doing yoga. Um, I started trying to draw. I started I went and found somewhere to go work and snowboard and learn that and get real good at it, because that was just something I had always wanted to do that I never got to do because that's expensive. So, and then there's so many more apps and websites you
Yeah, it
can
is.
go to. The amount of things that are available to you for you to be able to figure out anything is mind blowing. We've never had this available amount of information to us ever.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
completely
I just
overwhelming.
scoured what I was interested in.
That's awesome. That's so cool to be able to. It's. We're very lucky to be able to restart things like that. Like, it takes, strength and fortitude and all that, mental strength to do that, to be able to toss out things that you're not sure about, things maybe you don't like it, or it doesn't bring you joy right now, heck with it. But like, how cool is that to be able to do that? That like, as a society, and for me, coming from a place of stated and aware privilege, um, we can do that. We can say like, hey, even if I don't have a lot of money, you know what? I want to learn this new thing. I'm going to do it. We're not trying to pick leftover grain out of a field after the serfs have cleaned. We're not trying to hunt fish in the woods to feed our families. We can all have this time for introspection and have this time to figure out what makes us really happy, or at least to figure out what doesn't. And sometimes I just think about how cool that is. Like, even if you're not happy right now, and even if somebody else isn't happy, you have the ability to change even a tiny little piece of it. You have control over so many parts of your life. And, like, coloring, that's awesome. It brings you joy, and from my viewpoint, you created something, and that's awesome. um, but how cool that you can do that. Like, I don't know, just marveling at society and the cool things that we get to do now. It hasn't eliminated sadness, but it couldn't. Sadness is part of life. Being bored is part of life. Having to restart is part of life. But there's so much cool stuff to do, and that's great.
Can do cool stuff. Yes,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. I mean, I am definitely aware that I live in a privileged, country, and that I
Hmm.
have, certain privileges myself from just being a person in this society, how it's running.
Yeah.
It's the fact that I could safely go to Alaska and work in a cabin in the woods and not have to worry about myself or anything like that because I was taken care of, because I was working and I had shelter. And I
Hmm.
mean, the being away from all of that removed, the Walmarts and like all of the fast food restaurants and just the big media and social media of everything. It wasn't in my face all the time. I had like barely any internet. So I was just working and living as if cell phones and stuff never existed.
Yeah.
Um, so it definitely gave me the time to sit and think about that and kind of work on myself and everything. And yeah, I didn't have a farm that I needed to take care of. I didn't have a family that I needed to take care of. It is important to also understand and note that, it's only because of how my life is that I was able to do all of that. But if you can get
Yeah.
to a point where you can sit down and spend even just 15 minutes of like self reflection, I think that would help you individually greatly in your life,
Yeah.
just kind of on whatever it is that you're doing. Because
Yeah.
we have
For anybody, everyone's got a few minutes to think about themselves.
when you put it that way, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go.
Thank you so
I
much. This has been really fun.
Yeah, no problem. This is Froglosophy. I hope you look forward to maybe watching some of the other ones and hearing more as they go on. And I'm definitely hoping to maybe get back in touch with people, see if perspectives have changed.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to help.
All right, cool. Glad to have you here, Silkworm. I am Frog. This is Froglosophy, signing off.